Do you feel like you're falling? Like nothing makes sense anymore? Like life has become too heavy to carry? Maybe you're going through something much bigger than you realize, a spiritual collapse. It may feel like the end, but in truth, it's the beginning of your spiritual awakening. In this video, I'll show you what's behind the pain and why this dark phase could actually be your greatest turning point. Before awakening, you're going to fall, and no one warns you about it. You're going to lose your footing. You'll think you're going crazy. You'll question your very existence. Even the things that once felt certain, obvious, solid, everything starts to lose its color. People's words feel empty. The goals that once guided your steps no longer make sense. You feel out of place, as if the world is moving forward. But you're not. You might be living through this right now, losing relationships, direction, certainty, without knowing why. Feeling like everything that once had meaning now feels hollow, like your soul is silently screaming to be heard. But all the world offers is noise. And the worst part is, it'll feel like everything is falling apart, when nay, in truth, it's all finally falling into place. Maybe you've tried everything: therapy, meditation, productivity hacks, spirituality, but nothing seems to reach the pain hiding behind your eyes. Nothing answers the question that won't go away. What's happening to me? That question is the beginning. Because spiritual collapse isn't a punishment. It's an invitation. An invitation to let go of what was never truly yours. To die on the inside before being born. For real. For the very first time. If you're going through this right now, stay with me until the end. This might be the compass your soul has been silently asking for. Here, we're not going to romanticize the pain, but we are going to decode it, turn the chaos into meaning, the fall into a path. Because when everything falls apart inside, that's when the soul starts to rebuild on the outside. And maybe you're closer to the light than you've ever been. Have you ever been through something like this, or felt something similar? Share your experience with us. Know that you're not alone on this journey. You feel like nothing makes sense, even though you did everything right. Life feels like a stage play, and suddenly, you just can't keep acting anymore. You wake up with no will to move. It's not sadness, it's emptiness, an absence that takes up all the space. The people around you don't understand. Some drift away, others try to cheer you up. But no words reach what you're really feeling. You start losing touch with yourself. The things that used to define you, work, routine, beliefs, even your desires, start to crumble, as if an old version of you is dying. But no one told you there'd be a funeral. This is the dark night of the soul, and it doesn't come with a warning. It comes like a silent implosion. Carl Jung didn't call this failure. He called it a psychic transition. Because behind the collapse, there's a calling to leave the surface behind and dive deep into the core of your existence. But that dive isn't beautiful. It's not inspiring. It's dark, confusing, brutal. Like a forest where all the paths have vanished. Like free-falling without knowing where or if you'll land. This is where the soul starts to rebel against the ego that kept it caged. And for something true to be born again, the false must first fall apart. You start asking yourself, who am I now? But no answer comes. The mind spins in circles, trying to rebuild the old because it still can't imagine the new. Your inner structures have collapsed, but your new self hasn't been born yet. This is the limbo of awakening, a no man's land where everything feels suspended. You try to meditate, try to understand, try to go back to who you were, but everything slips through your hands like dry sand. Maybe you start dreaming of strange symbols, doors that won't open, foggy mirrors, water slowly rising. These are messages from the unconscious. It's starting to speak, but in a language you haven't yet learned to understand. Here, nothing holds up anymore. Not your certainties, not your masks, not your plans. You try to cling to some kind of logic, but the soul doesn't respond to logic. It responds to truth, even when that truth comes in the form of chaos. Carl Jung once said, "What you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you." But accepting this emptiness feels like hugging a ghost. You feel lost. And yet, paradoxically, it's in this very loss that something new starts to stir. Still invisible, but already present. This is the phase where many people give up. They go back to the old. They distract themselves. They pretend. They deny. But if you can endure the disorientation, if you can sit in the silence without answers, new direction will begin to form, and it doesn't come from the outside. It rises from the unseen. Suddenly, something starts calling you. You don't know where it's coming from, but you feel it. Deep down, a restlessness, a symbol that keeps showing up, a name, a song, a memory that refuses to go away. And the dreams? They become more vivid, more unsettling. You start waking up with your heart racing, or maybe with a strange sense of déjà vu. It's the unconscious trying to speak, but it doesn't use words. It speaks through images, through sensations, through coincidences that feel like secret messages. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, external events that mirror your inner world. A book falls off the shelf. A stranger says exactly what you needed to hear. You stumble upon something that shakes you or guides you. These signs aren't random. They're echoes of your own inner world. Symbolic responses from the soul, trying to bring you back to yourself. But it takes presence. You have to listen with your heart, your body, your silence. This is the phase where the first sparks of intuition begin to flicker. Hints of direction, you why. Still don't understand everything, but you can feel something shifting. Like an inner tide, like you're being pulled by something greater. You begin to see that the crisis isn't just a fall. It's a calling to something you've forgotten. Something buried beneath the character you learned to play. Something that belongs to your deepest essence. And now, wants to be reborn. This is the phase where most people run or give up. Because this is where the shadow shows up. Not as some external monster, but as you. The part you tried to hide, repress, forget. The anger you've swallowed. The fear you pretended not to feel. The envy, the pride, the desire. Everything you learned to deny starts to rise. And it's terrifying. Because you realize you're not just light. You never were. But you're not darkness either. You are both. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." At this point, your dreams become more symbolic, more disturbing. Strange figures appear, animals, faceless people, broken mirrors. You start recognizing patterns, emotional wounds, masks you've worn, cycles you've repeated. and it hurts, but it also frees you. Because when you face the shadow, you stop running from yourself. You become whole, no longer just a persona, but a soul, rebuilding itself. The chaos now has form, the pain now has a name, and the unconscious begins to reorganize itself, like a forest that, after the fire, grows back stronger. You're still deep in the night, but for the first time, you know you're alive. There comes a point when you no longer recognize yourself. Your old desires don't make sense anymore. The things you once achieved now feel hollow. What used to define you, the labels, the dreams, the roles, begins to fall apart. Not because you failed, but because you're transforming. This is the phase where the shell of the ego cracks, where the character dies, so the real self can be born. But this death isn't beautiful. It's not poetic. It's dark. You feel like you're losing everything. But in truth, you're being emptied, so you can be filled again. It's the moment of crossing with no map, the longest night of the soul, the one where even the mirror no longer recognizes you. But this is not the end. It's the beginning of revelation. Carl Jung described it as an inevitable process. In order to be born, you must first die. Die to everything. That is an illusion, to everything that is not truly you. This is where you kneel or withdraw, not out of weakness but out of surrender. You stop resisting the current, and you begin to let go. Let go of control, of expectations, of the past. This emptiness is not absence. It's space for the new. You don't yet know who you'll become, but you're no longer who you were. The old you is dying, but the true self is about to be born. You don't know exactly when it happens, but you feel it. One day, something inside you lights up. After so much chaos, comes the silence. But not an empty silence. A full one. As if something ancient had finally been remembered. You start to see meaning where there was only pain. You begin to honor the wound as a portal and the fall as a calling. What returns isn't the same you as before. It's someone lighter, deeper, more real. You no longer want to conquer the world. You want to align with it. You're not looking for easy answers, but for true questions. You no longer crave approval, but wholeness. This is where you stop reacting and begin to create. Something in you aligns with the unseen, with the symbol, with the mystery. You realize the unconscious was never your enemy. It was trying to save you, to rebuild you from the inside, to bring you back. This is the phase where you integrate your shadows, accept your pain, forgive your hardness, and begin to live in communion with what you feel. You don't get over the past, you transform it into wisdom, into presence, into purpose. This is where you are reborn, but not as a new character. You're reborn as someone who has finally stopped pretending and started existing. You're not weak because you fell. You're strong because you dared to feel. The collapse was never the end. It was the rite of passage your soul had been waiting for. Every fragment was a piece of you crying out for truth, for wholeness, for life. So listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the whisper of the invisible. It's guiding you with symbols, with dreams, with sacred pain. Maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're just waking up. If this journey spoke to something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share, comment, bring into the light what once lived in the dark. Subscribe to the channel and help us explore more themes like this. This space is made of fragments, but together, we can remember the whole.